Today we are talking about the center of La Trinidad, the trinity of lenses, full frame, Canon R series, the RF glass, the Trinity as they call it. This is the centerpiece of that trinity, the RF 24-70 f2.8. But Canon has another lens that sort of fits this same spot in the lineup, the RF 28-70 f2. We're going to talk about why I went with the 24-70 f2.8 over the f2 28-70 because this is a coveted spot in your lineup as a photographer, even videographer. Here are the 5 points that I was able to put together, which ultimately led to me buying the 24-70 f2.8 and really being convinced that I didn't need or wasn't going to use all the benefits that I think are actually kind of niche with the 28-70 f2. So one of the things to think about when you're building out your kit of lenses is your filters. I have a ton of filters at the 82mm length, and then a step-up ring for the 77 on the kit lens, the 24-105, and the RF 70-200. But the 15-35 and the 24-70 are both an 82mm lens mount ring. Now looking at something like the f2 28-70, that filter thread mount size is 95mm in circumference, which is massive compared to the 82 or 77. I mean, that's a huge departure, and I'd have to buy a completely different filter set to use that lens in the environments where I'm shooting, which is mostly outdoors and lifestyle type stuff, even some landscapes and product photography. I don't want to have to go buy another circular polarizer, UV filter, V&D filters, mist and diffusion filters for that filter size. And I'm not gonna really shoot that lens bare because I don't shoot in a studio. So yeah, common filter size with the 15-35 and being able to use all my same filters across my kit with only one step-up ring. Yeah, gotta go with the 24-70 on that one. The second point was just the overall size of the lens. Now the 24-70 f2.8 is about 2 pounds. Now when we're talking about a camera body like the EOS R5, which is a mirrorless camera, it doesn't have a mirror in it, so that's even more reduced weight. The Canon EOS R5 is only about 1.5 pounds, a little more than 1.5 pounds. And if you're talking about putting a lens on it with the f2, the 28-70 f2, the 28-70 f2 is over 3 pounds, so it's pretty much double the weight of the camera body itself. That's just a lot to wield, and you really need to think about ergonomics and the way that you work. Because I'm out shooting a lot and I'm not indoors in a studio, I have to think about carrying a lot of this stuff on my back or carrying it in my hand on like a hike, going somewhere, going to a location. And having a lens that big on a body that I bought the Canon EOS R5 primarily because of its size. I'm not someone who's shooting on the 1DX Mark III, even though that's an amazing camera, because it's massive and I'm a small dude. I'm 5'8". I'm not gonna carry around I'm just not gonna carry around that f2 28-70. This was another point where the 24-70 f2.8 took the lead. The next point's a little bit nuanced, and I think it's maybe even more specific to my needs, but as a Canon shooter, where my wife is also a Canon shooter with the EOS R, we share these lenses and can use lenses at different times for different shoots and different needs that we're working on. So if my wife needs the 15-35, which is what I'm currently shooting this on, what I shoot these videos on, I primarily shoot them at 24mm on the 15-35. Well, with the 24-70, I have that 24mm at that f2.8 that I would normally get shooting on the 15-35. So I get a lot of versatility out of this 24-70. That 28 inside of this office is just a little too tight for me for my videos and my set. Actually, here, let's just pull this out to 28 right now. And you see it's punched in really tight. It doesn't look bad, but you can see my head's kind of cropped off. I'm already like seated down in my chair as far as I can go. And for me, this feels like a little cramped. I like kind of airing it out a little bit here at like 24. Gives me a little more room to talk, a little more room to like hold things up and show you guys what I'm talking about. With the 28-70, I don't have that option. For you, that may not be as big of a deal, but as someone who knows the focal lengths and where they shoot in their studio, that kind of ended up being a big deal for me. So that's another point on the table for the 24-70. Now next up, for all you hybrid shooters out there, talking about image stabilization. Yes, the R5 and R6 has IBIS, in-body image stabilization, and that is gonna help get you a much cleaner shot. But if you're shooting video, especially handheld, you're gonna want as much image stabilization as you can possibly get to get the smoothest shot that you can get. For the way that I shoot, the way that I make my videos, I like that smaller package, more versatile package where I don't have to worry about getting out a gimbal in order to get a smooth shot with this lens and body combination setup. There's IBIS in the body and there's image stabilization in the lens, and that gets you just a really clean shot. And so finally, the last piece that I should talk about is the aperture. Now, yes, is f2 a wider and faster aperture? Yes, it is, absolutely. For me, what I find is, especially shooting outside, shooting at f2.8 is already a challenge enough to get the subjects that I'm shooting in focus. And usually the stories I want to tell, I'm crafting my scene and my setting where I'm closing off that aperture to 5.6, 8, even 11, or in some cases going up all the way into the teens. Don't get me wrong, f2 is a magical aperture range. I have the RF 50mm at 1.8, and that can do some incredible shots, but it's something that I know I'm not going to use regularly, and it's not something that my craft in photography relies on. I try not to rely on just blurring out my backgrounds to make a shot look professional. I try to use composition and focal length in order to tell my stories, and I think that's a sign of a photographer who's really caring about not just the subject they're shooting, but trying to actually tell a story with their photography by getting some of that scene in focus as well. Now, you don't have to get the entirety of the scene in focus and do pinhole photography or anything like that, but for me, the f2.8 aperture is more than enough. And the f2.0 aperture was not worth going with a bigger lens, a filter thread mount that I can't even mount any of my existing filters on, giving up some of that focal length that I would use and is really versatile for me shooting indoors. So all in all, I'm really happy and excited about this lens. In fact, I've been shooting now with this lens for over a week. I think this is actually the first time I've taken it off since I've gotten it to put the 15-35 back on the R5 to film this video. This is a super versatile lens, and I think if you don't need that f2 shot, if you're not shooting indoors in a studio where you kind of have a lot of control, I think this is the lens to get. It's also cheaper, I think by a few $100s, so there's that with it as well. But all in all, I'm glad Canon is giving us options between these types of different lenses. It is awesome that they are creating so many different options of amazing glass for the RF system. I'm sure they're gonna only keep doing that. Like I said, these were just my points, the things that were important to me that made me want to go with the f2.8 over the f2.0. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. If you ended up going with f2.8 or the f2.0, and then for whatever reason was the most important reason for you for making that decision one way or another. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Stephen Foster. Subscribe to this channel if you aren't already, and I'm honored by all of you who already have. Thank you so much. Please be kind both in life and in the comments below, and like this video if you're a photographer and want other photographers to be able to discover things that can help them be a better photographer. And actually, by liking this video, you help me find other people who are in the same kind of world, who are photographers, who are trying to tell great stories with photography and videography. And I'm just really grateful for all of you guys who have been a part of this channel and this community so far. My goal is to just give you guys encouragement and help inspire you, give you insights to consider to help make your photography better. Thank you again so much, and we'll do it again soon.